where we will have a programme, as usual, on Christmas Day, presented
Will we? Who?
by our very...
Haven't you
looked at the rota? It's you, Bill, bringing the nation festive cheer on Christmas morning.
Aren't you going to be joining me?
I've got some presents to open at home. Sorry about that. I'll be here on New Year's Day, so it's not as if I'm shirking my duties. Coming up, turning popularity into profits, could social networking site Facebook's plans to target advertising backfire?
Sue Thurl will be here on Christmas Day, won't you, Sue?
In spirit, yes. I'll be phoning in. You'll be hearing crackers popping in the background just to say hi.
There'll certainly be some spirit involved on Christmas Day, won't there, Sue?
There certainly will, a little Christmas cheer. Morning to you at home as well. Paul Collingwood admits England need a miracle to salvage anything from the third test against Sri Lanka in Galle. After they were bowled out for a humiliating 81 runs yesterday, well, there might be one coming their way in the form of heavy rain. England started day 2 on 2 without loss, and they made fairly decent progress before Michael Vaughan edged one to Mahela Jayawardene in the slips with the score on 67. But his opening partner Alistair Cook is still there on 53, and in partnership with Ian Bell, the tourists have now moved on to 102 for 1. But even more significantly, the heavens have opened in Galle, heavy rain threatening to wash out the afternoon. That is blessed relief for England, who still require another 316 to make Sri Lanka bat again. Now, Aberdeen began the evening bottom of their UEFA Cup qualifying group with just a single point, but a famous 4-0 win over the Danish champions FC Copenhagen saw them advance to the knockout stages last night. Only a win was good enough for Jimmy Calderwood's side, but they didn't take the lead until the start of the second half, when Jamie Smith's speculative effort left the Copenhagen keeper stranded. Well, 8 minutes later, Smith netted a second, a crisply struck volley to put the Dons very much in the driving seat. Their first UEFA Cup win this season was all but secured 20 minutes from time as the Copenhagen defender Mikael Antonsen put through his own net. And the side who'd scored just once in the competition before this match made it 4 in the 83rd minute. Ricky Foster capping the win to the delight of his manager.
Great performance for the lads, you know, we know they're capable of it. That's why we get so angry sometimes on Saturdays, you know, but a wonderful performance against a very good team. It's wonderful, you know, to be in the last 32. We've got something to look forward to tomorrow, Jim, you know, and all credit to the lads. They've took us here, and the crowd was absolutely fantastic, you know, the atmosphere. That is special, you know, and it doesn't matter who you get now, it's something to look forward to in February.
Everton have already made it through to the last 32, so they were playing for pride as they took on AZ Alkmaar in the Netherlands. Even though they'd left Tim Cahill, Mikel Arteta and Yakubu at home, it took them little more than a minute to go in front. Andy Johnson with the goal. But the Dutch side had never lost a home match in Europe, and they fought Everton all the way, equalising in the 16th minute. A further goal apiece saw the sides level at 2-2, but 11 minutes from time, a fairly innocuous effort from James Vaughan crept over the line to give Everton 4 wins out of 4 in the competition. The draw for the knockout stages for the UEFA Cup and for the Champions League takes place later on today. 14 months in charge at Easter Road, John Collins has parted company with Hibernian. The former Scotland international said he'd left the club, saying he'd taken them as far as he could with the resources available.
It's not been an easy 14 months, but it's been a challenge. There's been lots of highs and lows like every manager, but there's been lots of great memories I'll take with me. I just felt that I'm a young, ambitious manager, and I just was getting frustrated and decided it was time to move on.
Scotland are looking for a manager. You're not doing too much, John, over the next couple of years, are you?
The last thing I want to be talking about is another job just now. I think that's unfair.
Just a few days after confirming Fabio Capello as the new England manager, the FA have made another big decision. The board has approved the new National Football Centre, with a proposed site being at Burton. It might not look like too much just yet, but the plan is to create a centre of excellence to match the French model at Clairefontaine. The RFU's Director of Elite Rugby, Rob Andrews, says there was never any real doubt that Brian Ashton would continue as England coach, despite the criticism he received from some senior players after the World Cup. Speaking the day after he was handed a new contract, Andrews said he envisages Ashton being England coach at least until the next World Cup in 2011 and possibly even beyond. Ashton himself, though, is setting more short-term goals.
Our objective is to go out and win every game we're playing. You know, and if we do that, we'll win the Six Nations. But, you know, the Six Nations is going to be a tough tournament for us.
How good a side are England right now, then, do you think?
Good enough to get to a World Cup final. Yeah, and but a Six Nations tournament is, you know, all sorts of strange things happen in Six Nations tournaments. It's incredibly difficult to predict. We've got 3 games away from home, only 2 at home, but you know, I'm confident.
That's all from me for now. More in an hour's time. I will see you then.
Sue, thank you very much.
If you find it hard to keep up with all the health advice out there, you might be quite relieved to hear that many commonly held beliefs are in fact medical myths.
For example, you may think you need to drink 8 glasses of water a day to stay healthy. You'd be wrong. Studies suggest that drinking juice or tea or even coffee does have the same desired effect.
Now, what about shaving, Susanna? Many people believe that by shaving your hair, you make it grow back faster, darker and coarser. Wrong. It does no such thing.
That's what I'd always thought, that it would grow back darker and coarser. To talk us through these myths, we're joined by Dr. Rosemary Leonard and the broadcaster and health expert, Janie Lee Grace. Very good morning to you both. So, well, you know, this turns everything I've always been told on its head. For instance, Rosemary, tell us about the glasses of water. We're all told we need to constantly drink water to keep ourselves hydrated, keep our brains working properly, but it's just simply not true.
It's simply not true, and it's interesting. If you look back at the 1940s, you'd see everyone walking around with a cigarette in their hands, and I think the vision of the noughties, as we have them now, would be people walking around with a bottle of water, and you simply don't need it. In these sort of temperatures, you need about 2.5 pints a day on average. If you're very physically active, if you're very hot, then you need more. And it doesn't have to be water. And I have to confess, I hardly ever drink neat water.
Neat water?
Neat water. I hardly ever drink.
You mix it with your gin.
Yeah. I mean, I have coffee, I have tea, eat a lot of fruit, which also contains water. Vegetables contain water. You don't need to drink water. And in fact, if you do, you just find yourself running to the loo all day long.
Janie, how are you running to the loo very often?
Yes, quite a lot. Well, I disagree, as you probably guess. I actually think water is hugely important, neat water as well. I think coffee and tea are fine, but do as the Europeans do and have a glass of water with them. You know, they do say match every glass of alcohol with a glass of water, and I buy into that as well. I think that the problem with coffee and tea is they are diuretics, and basically they'll make you pee more, but, you know, they'll basically dehydrate you, and I really do think we need water to rehydrate us and flush out all the toxins.
Who's telling us all this stuff?
This is it's in the BMJ. This is the British Medical Journal. Good journal. Yes. I mean, certainly, if you have very strong espresso coffee, I would agree, a bit of water. But I have weak instant coffee. Don't need water with that. But we can get off water. We can go on to shaving now.
I was always told if you shave your legs, the hairs will grow back thicker and coarser, and it was the wrong thing to do. I mean, is it something that you've grown up thinking as well?
I have. I absolutely thought the same thing. I can hand you straight over to Rosemary on that one. I won't fight. Whatever.
I don't know. What you do with the hairs above your skin makes absolutely no difference to what's going on in the hair follicles underneath it. If you let your hairs grow, the ends are soft and they don't feel so coarse. So it's when you shave them off, then you have this coarse stubble coming back, and you're more aware of it.
So it's almost a perception of it.
It's perception of it.
But we're all free to carry on shaving our legs without worrying about it.
Yeah, it won't make any difference at all.
You can stop waxing now, Bill.
Wet hair, going out with wet hair doesn't give you a cold?
No. Well, it's interesting.
I've been saying this to my kids for years. How can you do this?
You cannot get a cold from going outside with wet hair. You have to catch a cold.
You get a chill. You get a chill.
No, you can't get a chill.
Why not?
No, you can't. You
do just get cold.
You get cold from when you're indoors, not when you're outdoors usually.
Yeah, I mean,
the frost is great for colds.
Yes, yeah, you're much more likely to get a cold going on a crowded bus than you are going.
Surely it cannot be good for you to go out in sub-zero temperatures with a cold, wet head.
No, you'll get frozen hair. It wouldn't be good for your hair.
But
no,
all?
actually, there was some very interesting research done on this, and what happens is if you are brewing a cold, you are more likely for it to come out if you go out with wet hair.
Janie, I need to quickly ask you, because number 7 in the list is it is not true that eating turkey makes you drowsy. Now, I didn't know that there was...
Well, I would have
said
said that is true, actually. That's purely from my... I don't eat turkey, I don't eat meat, but I am told that because turkey contains tryptophan, is it tryptophan, is that the chemical? It's actually very good for helping you feel a little bit more sleepy. So if you find it difficult to get to sleep, turkey is one of those sleep-inducing foods.
Is that why you fall asleep
after Christmas lunch?
After Christmas
just the turkey, just the turkey.
Or is that because you've been up in the morning presenting breakfast?
It's also to get out doing the washing up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, both of you.
It's 17 minutes to 8. This is Breakfast. These are the main stories this morning. The results of a strike vote among workers at some of Britain's busiest airports will be known later today.
The Chief Constable of Northern Ireland has been urged to attend a meeting to discuss scathing criticism of the police by the judge in the Omagh bomb trial.
What's coming up this morning? Before all the excitement tomorrow night, we've got excitement in the studio. The judges and the finalists from Strictly Come Dancing, Matt D'Angelo and Alicia Dixon, will be here with Flavia and Matthew, their partners.
Now let's have a look at the weather. And it's still feeling cold, Carol. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it is, Susanna. Temperatures are still below freezing across some parts of the country. We've got some frost around and we've also got some patchy fog, but no real snow. There's some snow grains in parts of the southwest of England, but you have to come down here to the Natural History Museum to see real snow later on. Now, today generally it's going to be cold and it's going to be grey. There is a lot of cloud around, especially so across England and Wales, and it will continue this way as we go through the course of the day too. As I mentioned, some patchy fog, some of it quite thick in places, and as we go through the next few hours we could see more form, and where the clouds broken while we're looking at some frost as well in the south. Moving further north into the Midlands and heading up into Lincolnshire and Yorkshire, again some patchy mist and fog around, quite a bit of cloud for some of us, and when it's broken in the far north of England, looking at some clear skies, but also a cold frosty start, as indeed we have in Scotland. Frosty too this morning across Northern Ireland, and in fact if you are travelling it's worth bearing that in mind because there may well be some icy patches on untreated surfaces. For Wales too, it's a cold start to the day. Quite a bit of cloud, but where it's broken there'll be some sunshine, and some sunshine across parts of Devon and Cornwall this morning, but not as cold because there's a wee bit more of a breeze here. So through the rest of the day, we'll continue with this great big lump of cloud across many parts of England and Wales, but later it will break in parts of the southeast of England, so we'll see some sunshine. Sunshine continuing at times through the southwest of England, western Wales, and particularly Scotland and the north of England. But as I mentioned, it's going to feel cold in the light winds. Now this evening and overnight, again we'll still have a lot of cloud around, some patchy mist and fog, some frost where the cloud breaks, rain crossing Northern Ireland, and that will cross us all, and it's going to fall on cold surfaces through the course of the day. So we'll have some freezing rain anywhere north of Chester, and for a time across parts of central and northern Scotland we'll also have some snow. But look at the milder air coming in behind. And then for Sunday, mostly dry for the bulk of the country, some sunshine, but later on in the day we'll have more rain piling into the northwest. Now, as I said, we're not expecting a white Christmas apart from the mountains of Scotland, so we've brought our own. So, Samantha, cue the snow. Here it comes. Oh, it's brilliant. This is the way to do it.
Oh, as a child, I would have loved to have been in a snow dome. Oh, that looks like great fun, Carol.
And time for Declan to talk about one of his favourite pastimes, Facebook. Morning, Declan. There he is. Isn't he lovely?
Hello. Yes. Talking about Facebook yet again. This, of course, as you'll remember, every time we talk about Facebook, I show you the Facebook for me on breakfast. Just 1,015 breakfast viewers as friends now. Thank you all very much. Those of us who are on sites like these, Facebook, MySpace, Bebo, use them for things like swapping photos, for chatting, for sending messages. But obviously, the companies, and Facebook in particular, want to make money out of it, and they do it through advertising. Now, Facebook has said something unusual recently. It says it will use the personal information that we put about ourselves on the site. So things about our gender, dates of birth, where we're from, what we're interested in. It'll use that personal information to help advertisers target their message personally to us. Here's Facebook's founder speaking about it on an edition of the Money programme that will be broadcast later tonight.
The last 100 years have been defined by the mass media. A few big companies went out and gathered with their...
On stage, the founder of Facebook, and possibly the next online billionaire, Mark Zuckerberg, is addressing the world's leading advertisers and media.
Every other type of advertising.
Although his presentation lacks a certain something, his message is revolutionary.
You just select the people that you want to target, and we'll target your ads for you.
So what do you say to people who use Facebook who don't want to be advertised to?
Who don't want to be advertised to? And it's an ad-supported business.
Right, well, there's more of that on the Money programme tonight on BBC Two at 7 o'clock, also available immediately afterwards on the BBC iPlayer. Tom Himp is with me. He's an advertising expert, a strategist at a company called Naked Communications. Tom, nice to see you again. This is a completely different type of advertising. This isn't like the ads that you see halfway through Coronation Street. This isn't mass market.
Yes, indeed. Mark Zuckerberg himself calls it a revolution. It is a revolution in the sense that it showcases the move from mass marketing messages, which is generic, blunt messages you see, whether it's on websites or on other channels, to actually an era we're entering now, where you have hyper-targeted, personalized messages, which are specifically aimed at people based on the information we have about them.
Is that a more effective way of advertising? Is that likely to be more successful?
Well, definitely, because undoubtedly from all the messages you see, I can guarantee you probably 99% you're not interested in. So increasing the relevance of a message because you personalize it is, of course, much more effective. If you would be having an ad from an advertiser which was specifically targeted to somebody living in London, interested in specific...
I'm not sure I'd be terribly happy if I got an advert that was clearly based on some private information that I put up on a website like this. It would make me less likely to do business with that company.
Well, the thing is that they do use some of the personal information which is on the site, but of course it's only information you have decided to give away. So it would be based on things that you have been happy to share with other people. And they would never, in terms of Facebook, they would never share your personal information with the marketeers.
OK, Tom Himp from Naked Communications. Nice to talk to you. Thanks for joining us here at the Stock Exchange. More after 8. Have a lovely day.
Yeah, you've just got time to change your picture because you haven't changed it for a quarter of an hour, which is what you normally do.
It's the only good picture I've got. It's going to be there for some time, Bill.
Right, thank you very much.
1,015 friends. I don't think I've met that many people in my life.
No, well, you've got to be special like him, you see. It's a big weekend. The final of Strictly Come Dancing tomorrow night, and our very own little mover is down at the Natural History... I'm wondering, Natural History Museum's ice rink for us this morning. Take your pick. There he is.
Oh, morning, Chris.
Very good morning to you, Bill. We've had to get rid of Karen because of safety reasons. She was skidding all over the place. Strictly Come Dancing people were not happy. Anyway, we are getting into the Christmas spirit here. We're out on the ice. Blake have just arrived. They're going to be giving us their version of a White Christmas a little bit later on. So we've got a bit of a Christmas special. But as you say, Bill and Suze, everyone is talking about Strictly Come Dancing. Will it be Alicia? Will it be Matt? We'll bring on our Strictly correspondent. Take my hand, please, as I come off the ice. It's Karen. Very good morning to you. Now, this time last year, you were with a certain Mark and talking about the final and how you were going to win it. What's happened?
Yeah, it's sort of a bit of a reversal here this time. But you know what? I would wish this journey on anybody. It's going to be absolutely amazing, this final. Obviously sad I'm not there, but it's an amazing experience. We've got Matt D'Angelo, our good-looking, gorgeous East End star, who blew us away with 4 10s in his waltz last week. Bearing in mind the week before, though, it was quite the reverse. So what we're going to have in the final, nobody knows with Matt. He's got 5 dances to remember. Then we've got the First Lady of Dance herself, Alicia Dixon. She's going to be amazing. And going out there again to do 5 dances. She's under a lot of pressure as well because each time she's coming out, she's putting on great performances. Few tips, I think, along the way, just to help everyone at home that, you know, what do we mark? When you get into the final, it's not personality now, it's down to dancing, and I hope everyone's going to mark the dancing.
And I've got to tell you, it's pretty tight because both Matt and Alicia are neck and neck. Have a look at this.
I can now reveal the only couple with a guaranteed place in next week's grand final is... Alicia and Matthew.
And I'm saving Matt and Flavia.
The night belongs to Gethin and Camilla.
I have to save Matt and Flavia.
Just watching those 2 dances, I have to go with Matt and Flavia.
Well, we know who through to the final now. I've got to say, all along, I thought, Alicia, she's going to walk it. But Matt with that 40 has really raised the bar.
He has. So we're going into the final now, where I believe the couples are going to be neck and...
40. Yeah. It took you a bit of a time to get one yourself. Did Matt deserve it?
I think so. The idea of a perfect 10, who's to say? You've got the public's vote and then you've got the judges' vote. The perfect 10 comes from good technique, they execute the dance well, they keep the timing, but most of all, they connect with the room. If there's a special piece of chemistry that goes off in the room, because that's what dancing's all about. It's about appealing to the public. And if those judges felt that was something really spectacular, then they should give the 10s.
And they got it.
Yeah, they just didn't get chemistry out of Mark and I until the semi-final.
OK, now talking about chemistry...
Yes.
And talking about the inside information, for you, yes. Hand on heart, very quickly, no one else knows, apart from you and me and maybe a few people listening, Matt or Alicia?
I'm going to go... I'm going to keep you in suspense.
Oh, what a win! What a win!
Who can say it's brilliant? And listen, thank you for having me on the show.
That's all right.
I've loved it.
Our Strictly correspondent and your ice correspondent, it's back to you two.
She's such a tease. Such a tease.
Oh, dear.
And of course, three of the judges and Matt and Alicia and Matthew and Flavia are all going to be here for the end of the programme this morning, so stay with us for that.
Just what you need when you're really nervous about the weekend, to come in and sit on this sofa and we'll grill them about it.
Absolutely. First, though, let's join our news teams across the UK. We'll see you in a minute.
Good morning. Supporters of jailed Liverpool fan Michael Shields say they now have the evidence that proves his innocence. He took a lie detector test yesterday and passed. The 21-year-old is serving a 10-year sentence for the attempted murder of a barman in Bulgaria in 2005. Helen Brown reports.
Michael Shields was travelling home from watching Liverpool win the European Cup in 2005. He was returning through Bulgaria when he was accused of the attempted murder of this Bulgarian barman. He's always maintains his innocence. Sentenced to 15 years in prison, this was reduced to 10 on appeal, and he was allowed to serve the remainder of his sentence in Britain. So it was here at Garth Prison near Leyland yesterday that he took a lie detector test and passed. His supporters are hoping the test will add weight to the dossier of evidence they say proves his innocence. His MP Louise Ellman will meet the Foreign Secretary and the Justice Secretary and call on them to put pressure on the Bulgarian authorities to pardon the 21-year-old.
Wigan Athletic will find out later today whether or not they'll get back nearly £300,000 from Greater Manchester Police. The two organisations have been involved in a legal dispute in the High Court since October. It follows a disagreement over a £226,000 increase in policing charges. GMP maintains the charges are entirely fair. The father of a missing teenager from Blackpool has made an emotional appeal for his daughter to come home for Christmas. Paige Chivers, who has a distinctive Playgirl tattoo, walked out of the family home after an argument in August this year. Her father, Frank, says he just wants her to come home. There's a £2,000 reward for information leading to her safe return. Football, and our teams will find out who they face in the next rounds of their respective European campaigns today. Bolton and Everton will find out their opponents in the next round of the UEFA Cup. And the draw for the first knockout round of the Champions League takes place in Switzerland this morning. Man United could be drawn against Scottish League champions Celtic, while AC Milan, Barcelona and Real Madrid are some of the possibilities for Liverpool. Now in North West tonight at 6:30, it's the climax of our trip around the region on the sledge. Here's Stuart.
Well, after a week on the sledge, it's all coming to an end, but tonight is our big grand finale. We're going to be live in Dalton-in-Furness in Cumbria. Not just me and Steve, the cameraman, but Gordon and Ranveer. The whole team will be there. North West tonight, live from Dalton-in-Furness tonight at 6:30.
Now let's take a look at how it's looking on the roads this morning. Just a couple of things to report. There's been an accident on the M6 going northbound between junctions 18 and 19. That's at Knutsford. All lanes have now been reopened, but traffic is still very heavy. And in Greater Manchester, the M60 clockwise has one lane closed between junctions 13 and 40. That's due to a broken down vehicle. A look at the weather now, and generally a rather grey day with some low cloud and mist. Some parts could see some sunny spells though. Temperatures only reaching about 4, and tonight misty, murky, patchy frost with temperatures dropping to -2. That's it. See you in half an hour. Bye-bye.
Doctor.
I'm a Time Lord. I'm 903 years old, and I'm the man who's going to save your lives and all 6 billion people on the planet below.
Well, you look good for 903.
You should see me in the mornings.
Okay.
Good morning, this is Breakfast with Bill Turnbull and Susanna Reid.
The big Christmas getaway, could it be spoiled by industrial action?
Around 3 million people are expected to fly abroad this Christmas. This is just a few of them. The roads and the rail network will also be incredibly busy. We'll have all the latest updates.
Good morning, it's Friday the 21st of December.
Also ahead this morning, anger and disappointment over the Omagh bomb trial. We'll hear from a victim's father.
Thousands of foreign offenders will be allowed to stay in the UK despite a government pledge to tackle the problem.
And also coming up in the programme later on, it's a must-watch for Strictly fans. We've got the judges and the 2 finalists, Matt and Alicia.
Strictly got nothing on us.
None at
Good
all.
morning, welcome to the Natural History Museum. We've got a bit of a Christmas special. We're talking food, wine, and of course the weather.
It's not going to be a white Christmas though, apart from the tops of the hills in Scotland, and today it's going to be cold and grey. Shall we? Don't fall.
No, why, why?
More from Kristen Carroll later. First, our main story this morning, the Christmas getaway. Millions of people planning to travel over the festive period are facing widespread disruption.
There will be engineering work on large parts of the rail network, and some of Britain's busiest airports could be disrupted by strike action.
Unite has 5,000 members working at BAA's airports. Many, like security staff, are central to their smooth operation. But perhaps none are as crucial as the airport's fire services, also represented by Unite. Without them, no aircraft can take off or land, and so if, as the union expects, its members vote for a strike, it has the power to close down any airport it chooses. Staff are angry at BAA's decision, in common with many other big companies, to close down its final salary pension scheme. BAA says it costs too much, the union insists it can afford it. The 2 sides are entrenched, there's little prospect of compromise. That threatens disruption at most of Britain's busiest airports. Heathrow, Gatwick, Stansted, Southampton, Edinburgh, Glasgow and Aberdeen are all run by BAA. However, legal restrictions mean there can be no strike before December the 28th, and the union is hinting it may delay action until after the holiday period.
Later on this morning, I think we're going to see a vast majority in favour of strike actions at BAA. And if you haven't got security staff, if you haven't got firefighters, you can't run an airport unless you bring the army in.
Yesterday, in a separate dispute over pay, cabin crew at Virgin added to air travellers' misery by announcing the first strike in the airline's history. 2 48-hour actions are planned on January the 9th and 16th. So again, the disruption shouldn't begin until after the holidays. Russell Hayes, BBC News.
And breakfast, Tim Moffat joins us from East Midlands Airport. Tim, good morning. Well, the complications will probably be more for people trying to get back from their Christmas break than getting away.
Well, that's right, and they will only affect BAA airports potentially, and East Midlands is not one of those. There are several others as well which won't be affected. But as you say, the Great Christmas Getaway is very much underway, as you can see. Around 3 million people are expected to fly away over the Christmas period. That's way up on last year. At East Midlands Airport alone, they're expecting 9,000 passengers to travel through the airport today, up 13% on last year. On the roads, the AA are expecting around 18 million motorists to take to the roads today. They think the peak will be at around 3 o'clock this afternoon. The very, very best of luck if you are intending to drive around that time. They say plan your journey if you can. Look out for potential roadworks. Some are being suspended for the Christmas period, some aren't. So plan ahead if you can. As for the rail network, well, of course, no service on Christmas Day, and over the Christmas period there will be some disruption, especially on the West Coast main line. So again, check if you can. Well, it is the time of year when many people have thought, well, the summer wasn't that great, let's get some sunshine. Let's have a chat to these people here. Where are you guys off to?
Barbados.
Where are you guys off to as well?
Barbados.
Have a great time. Why are you deciding to go somewhere sunny? It's warmer. Very good answer. Daft question, really. It's obvious. Many people, it does seem, have thought, well, you know, if you want to get some sunshine, now is the way to do it. Get on a plane and get somewhere sunny. Back to you.
Tim, thank you very much.
Chief Constable of Northern Ireland has been urged to attend a meeting to discuss scathing criticism of the police by the judge in the Omagh bomb trial. The police ombudsman, which monitors standards, is seeking talks after Sean Hoey was acquitted of the bombing which killed 29 people. And in a moment, we'll be talking to Michael Gallagher, whose 21-year-old son, Aidan, was killed in that attack.
A court has ruled an Indian doctor who was deported from Australia after he was wrongly charged over the failed bomb attacks in London and Glasgow should be allowed to return. Terrorism charges against Mohammed Hanif were dropped earlier this year after Australia's chief prosecutor said a mistake had been made.
The controversy over the failure to deport foreign prisoners has been reignited by a memo issued by the Prison Service. The document says the Border and Immigration Agency has no interest in sending home foreign criminals serving sentences of less than 1 year. Danny Shaw reports.
There are more than 11,000 foreign prisoners in England and Wales, almost 1 in 7 of the prison population. The government wants to deport more of them to free up space. The issue ignited last year and led to the resignation of Charles Clarke as Home Secretary. It had emerged that 1,000 foreign criminals had left prison without even being considered for deportation. John Reid, Mr Clarke's successor, promised that all foreign prisoners would in future face deportation. His pledge was echoed by other ministers. But the Prison Service memo from Deputy Director General Michael Spur presents a rather different picture. The Criminal Casework Directorate of the Border and Immigration Agency, writes Mr Spur, have confirmed to us that as a rule they have no interest in pursuing foreign national prisoners serving sentences of less than 12 months for deportation. The document also says foreign nationals awaiting removal for immigration offences could be moved to open prisons to create space in other jails. The Conservatives say that would increase the risk of foreign prisoners absconding. Nothing in the document goes against official policy, but the rather dismissive language used is potentially embarrassing for the government. Danny Shaw, BBC News.
Japan has announced it's abandoning its plans to kill humpback whales in Antarctica. There had been worldwide condemnation of the hunt, particularly from Australia. Japan had planned to harpoon 50 humpbacks, marking the first time they'd been hunted since the 1960s, but the Japanese fleet still planning to kill more than 1,000 other whales.
A radical overhaul of school exams means that teenagers will be able to retake sections of their GCSEs in an effort to improve their grades. The change has been announced by the Qualifications and Curriculum Authority, and it means that 40% of the marks in any subject will be decided in an exam. The other 60% will be earned in coursework, which could be retaken if students are unhappy with their grades.
Celebrations have been held as the European Union lifts its border controls with 9 of its newest members. 400 million people can now travel freely across the continent from the Baltic to the Atlantic. There are fears, though, that the enlargement could lead to a possible rise in illegal immigration.
Bad news for chocoholics this morning as researchers suggest the health benefits of dark chocolate may have been overstated. Plain chocolate is naturally rich in flavanols, which are plant chemicals believed to protect the heart. But a report in the medical journal The Lancet says that many manufacturers remove these substances from confectionery because they taste bitter. And the number of people working on Christmas Day has almost doubled over the past few years. According to the TUC, it says more than 130,000 people will be on duty, with more women than men working. The main areas affected are the emergency services, hotels and restaurants, and of course here on Breakfast, where Bill will bring you the programme as usual on Christmas Day. Thank you very much for
It's
that.
my pleasure entirely. I'm only sorry you can't be with me.
I'll look forward to watching you as I enjoy my Christmas lie-in. Now, on the face of it, they appear to be rather crude, chalk drawings of penguins, but what makes them special is they were drawn by the legendary explorers Captain Scott and Ernest Shackleton, and they were discovered in a basement at Cambridge University, which is where Christine McGurty is this morning. Very good morning to you, Christine. Let's have a look at them.
Good morning. Yes, here I am at the Scott Polar Research Institute, where they've got a very early Christmas surprise, and here they are, the very simple chalk drawings you were referring to of penguins. Of course, it looks like something that any child could have done, But the important thing here is in the detail. Take a look, for example, at the signature here, Rob F. Scott. To you and I, of course, that's Captain Scott, the great explorer. And the other penguin by his fellow explorer, Ernest Shackleton, with a little question on the side in case you didn't know what it was. Of course, in those days, many people would never have known what the Antarctic was, and certainly never have seen a penguin before. These were just found, as you said, in the basement recently. No one quite knows how they got there, but it's thought they were probably used to illustrate public lectures. When these explorers came back from the Antarctic, they received a hero's welcome, and their lectures were packed with people dying to hear the news about this strange world. So the plan now here at the Institute is they're looking for donations to conserve these properly. It's amazing, really, that such simple chalk drawings have survived so long, and they want now to raise the money, to preserve them properly, and put them on display here at the Institute with some other polar artifacts like these very cosy, warm-looking boots and a pair of rather smelly Antarctic socks. Back to you.
Christine McGilty, thanks very much. They are fascinating, aren't they? Because they're so simple, those drawings. But as Christine was saying, people would not have had a clue what penguins were up to that moment over here. OK, 10 minutes past 8. You're watching Breakfast, of course, from BBC News. Now, the decision to acquit the only man charged with the Omagh bombing stunned the families of the 29 people killed. Outside the court in Belfast, they expressed their sorrow and anger.
The judge, though, was unwavering in his criticism of the way in which police handled the investigation. Michael Gallagher's 21-year-old son, Aidan, was killed in the attack, and Michael joins us now from outside the court in Belfast. Mr. Gallagher, good morning to you. Were you surprised at the outcome of this trial in the end?
Hello, good morning. I don't think we were surprised that Sean Hoy wasn't convicted of Omagh, but I think we were surprised that this is a person who was facing 56 serious terrorist-related charges, and not one of those charges he was convicted of. And I think that was a serious shock to everybody in court yesterday.
You will have lots of questions, of course, about the way the trial was conducted, presumably the way the police investigation was conducted. What do you think should be happening next?
Well, I think that, you know, it was a complete disaster for everybody, for the families involved, for the police, for the Crown Prosecution Service, really for law and order. Yesterday was a bad day, and I think that we have to sit down and look now where we move on from here. And the families feel that a full cross-border public inquiry is the best way of dealing with it. Let's get all the facts out into the open and independently examined so that at least the public side of Omagh can be laid to rest.
When you say cross-border inquiry, you mean one involving the police and other authorities in the Republic as well as in Northern Ireland?
Of course, because the people that planted the Omagh bomb, they travelled from the Republic and they spent less than 40 minutes in Northern Ireland. So 80% of the evidential opportunities lie within the Republic, and there is a parallel investigation carrying on south of the border, but they haven't fared much better than their colleagues in Northern Ireland. So that's why we say to both governments, now in the 10th year, let us have some degree of closure in this. Let us at least learn the facts, what is known, and learn the lessons from that inquiry, because I think inquiries are not merely to reapportion blame, because no one can move the blame from the people who were responsible, the terrorists. But I think there are lessons, serious lessons, not just for Northern Ireland, but for Britain and Ireland to learn from this atrocity.
Yeah. Michael, it's been almost 10 years since the atrocity took place, but an outcome like yesterday's will make it seem all raw all over again. How do you feel you and other families can find some way to resolve this for yourselves?
Well, I think that's particularly difficult given the time of year, a few days from Christmas. Very, very difficult. But we will rally round and we will support each other, and we are taking a civil action which will go forward hopefully in the spring. But we really do feel that the public inquiry, the Prime Minister, when I spoke to him 2 years ago, I asked him for a public inquiry and he said, let's see what happens in the Hoy trial. Well, yesterday we did see what happened. Total devastation, enormous waste of resources and money. So please, I would say to the Prime Minister of Britain and the Taoiseach of Ireland, let us have that public inquiry so that we can at least move on in some degree with our lives.
Michael Gallagher, thank you very much indeed for spending some time with us this morning.
Thank you.
And that story on the front of many of this morning's newspapers, an extraordinary photograph on the front of the Times this morning, taken just a minute before the devastation caused by the bomb. And, of course, reporting on the fact that the only suspect in that case acquitted yesterday and unlikely to be any more criminal charges now.
Yeah, similar story on the front page of The Guardian. Omagh trial fast prompts inquiry calls, and on the Mail, no justice, the headline. Also, extensive coverage inside of the latest evidence from the Princess of Wales inquest, I should say.
The Independent this morning is looking at the travel chaos which is likely to affect you if you're planning on going anywhere today. Road, railway and airport hell. If you're planning to get away in the car, apparently it's all going to peak at 3 o'clock this afternoon, so you might want to avoid that particular hour.
Check your traffic reports before you leave home.
Of course.
The Daily Telegraph has a very nice picture of a new member of the royal family, Viscount Seven. There he is, between his mum and dad, the Earl and Countess of Wessex. A Buckingham Palace spokesman said the couple haven't yet chosen a name for the Viscount. It's being narrowed down, but they've still yet to decide on the full name. He's 8th in line to the throne. He hasn't got a name yet. Born on Monday.
How about Viscount?
Viscount.
There we go. It's 16 minutes past 8. Coming up on Breakfast a little later. Christmas wouldn't be Christmas without a few festive tunes, and classical boy band Blake will be singing their version of White Christmas.
It's been 26 years since Grantley Manor was last on our screens. Now To the Manor Born is back with a Christmas special. We're behind the scenes.
And it's the climax tomorrow night in Strictly Come Dancing. This morning here we've got the judges and the 2 finalists and their partners here on the sofa. Don't miss it, all before the end of the programme.
Absolutely. That's going to be very exciting. It's
Yeah.
going to be their last chance to do really big smiles before they're actually judged on the dancing tomorrow night.
Here's somebody who's got a very, very big smile, without fail, always. Carol Kirkwood.
Good morning, and I've got an even bigger one this morning because I've just been hearing Blake rehearsing, and they are brilliant. But behind me, look at this view. We have a gorgeous Christmas tree. We've got the little mini market here at the Natural History Museum in London, and we've even got some snow, albeit not real. We're not expecting a white Christmas, sadly. Now, what we do have today, though, is a cold day ahead of us and also quite a grey one. In fact, at the moment, we've got some frost around, and we've also got some snow grains around as well. And as if that wasn't enough, we've got some patchy fog. But you can see in the satellite picture the cloud being well held out to the Atlantic, but that will change. It is going to come our way and bring some rain. Now, having said the clouds out in the Atlantic, we've got a lot of low cloud across the country at the moment, and where it's broken overnight, we are looking at a touch of frost first thing, and also some murky conditions, the mist and the fog I was telling you about. Then as we push up into the far north of England, again a cold and frosty start to the day, but there'll be some sunshine. And across Scotland today as well, we've got some freezing fog, temperatures down to about -10°C in the north, and frosty but some sunshine. Sunshine too first thing across Northern Ireland, but here too we've had a frost and it'll be with us for a wee while yet, so there may well be some icy patches on untreated surfaces, as indeed there may well be across parts of Wales, and the best sunshine to the west of Wales today. Southwest of England also seeing some sunshine, not quite as cold because here we've got a bit more of a breeze, which has helped keep the frost at bay. Now, through the rest of the day, we still will have a great big lump of cloud sitting across many parts of England and Wales, but it will break through the day in the southeast. The southwest will continue with some sunshine, as will western Wales, but the most sunshine is expected across the north of England and also Scotland. Now, through the night again, we'll still have the cloud, some patchy mist and fog. Where it breaks, we'll have some frost, and then you can see rain moving across Northern Ireland and sweeping across the rest of us during the course of the day. It will be patchy, but it will be freezing rain for a time anywhere north of Cheshire, and for a Summertime too across parts of Scotland, anywhere north of Edinburgh, we could well see a touch of snow. And then for Sunday, for most of us, it is going to be dry. There will be some sunshine. We'll have the rain coming in later in the day to the northwest, and it won't feel quite as cold as it's going to do today. That's how it's looking. Back to you two.
Carol, thank you.
Well, Christmas isn't going to be much fun for hundreds of families still unable to return to their homes after last summer's floods.
Yes, a new study has found many are suffering from depression, and with even a few feeling suicidal. Catherine Marston is in Tolbar in South Yorkshire, one of the areas badly affected by the flooding. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning. Yes, broken relationships, poor school attendance and even depression. Those are just some of the problems that people are still facing 6 months on from the summer's floods. One of the main reasons is that people are out of their homes. They're living in caravans and often these are freezing and people are struggling to cope. So I've been out in Hull with one expert to try to assess just how bad the problems really are.
From my family and stuff.
This is Lavinia Tomlinson's home, a tiny caravan in her back garden. Forced out of her house by the floods, she lives here with her husband and their 5 children, and she's expecting another child too. It's little wonder she's been diagnosed with depression.
I'm tired. I don't see why there's any point really, do you know? Like, because you work for everything, do you know, to build your home up and everything. I just feel like it's just being ripped away.
If it's red, it's damp, and that looks pretty damp to me. My goodness.
Paul Hendy is a floods consultant. He's in Hull to assess the impact of this summer's terrible events. He says many families are suffering from stress and depression, and that will have lasting effects.
It's going to result in broken relationships. It's going to result in people having difficulties with children, particularly behavioural problems. Children are going to have problems at school with learning, with coping. Every time it rains, people are going to be traumatised.
At the Fitzgerald home, they're back in, but the house is still very damp and it's taking its toll. Like thousands of others, this family will be living with the consequences of the floods for many more months. Well, we already know that in Hull alone, in recent weeks, there have been 6 attempted suicides because of the floods. We also now know that children are being very badly affected. In fact, Hull, as a city, has appointed 2 clinical psychologists just to try to assess what impact the summer's floods are having on children and their lives. For people here in Tolbar and in Hull, at the moment, Christmas isn't really bringing that much for them to look forward to.
Catherine, thank you very much.
22 minutes past 8. Now, pick up any celebrity magazine and you could be forgiven for thinking everyone's having babies early. Singer Lily Allen is the latest to announce she's pregnant at the age of 22. The reality is more women than ever are actually waiting until they're older to have babies.
So, what is the right age to become pregnant? Is there one? Lowry Turner had her first child at the age of 35. Rosa Modeste was only 17. And she's here with her beautiful 9-week daughter, Deja. Good morning to you both. Rosa, I remember you came in a few months ago when you were pregnant. We were talking about a programme in which you were taking part where you got to borrow a baby.
Yeah.
Now you've got one of your own. What's the difference?
It's so different. Like, you know what your own children want, whereas on the programme, like, if they're crying, you're like, oh, like, what do they want? Could it be this? Could it be that? But now I know my daughter, I know when she's crying and what she wants, so it's very different.
How do you feel about having had a child that's so young, at 17?
How do I feel? It's great being a mum, so no matter what age, I think I'd feel the same. Obviously, there was more that I wanted to do with myself before I had a child, but obviously things don't always go to plan, and so I've just got to deal with it.
Just established that it wasn't a planned pregnancy.
No, it wasn't a planned pregnancy.
Larry, you had your first baby at 35.
I feel about 110, I have to say. And, you know, I've just had another one at 42, so I really am knocking on. And I have to say that if I had been a teenager and got pregnant, I don't think I'd have been an appalling mother, an absolutely appalling mother. Because for me as a teenager, it was about going out, it was about how long. I used to take an hour to put my makeup on. I couldn't have done that with a baby. And I think to have to give that up, I'd have been really resentful. And people say the thing is, newspapers are full of stuff about older women shouldn't wait to have children because then you probably won't be able to have one, and then you'll be really knackered all the time, and your kids' friends will think that you're the grandparents. And there's lots of anti-stuff about older mothers. There's also lots of stuff about young mothers. I don't know if somebody would please tell us what is the correct time, because whatever we do seems to be wrong, doesn't it?
I mean, it seems to be sort of energy. The balance is energy against experience. So Rose is going to have more energy.
Yeah, hang on. Teenagers stay in bed all the time. I'm up at 5 as we were this morning.
But then you feel, come on, you've had 3 kids over the past 7 years. Yeah. It's knackering, isn't it?
It's very tiring. It's very tiring, but they were very much wanted. I mean, that is, I think, one of the differences if you're an older mother. It's not always, but sometimes you have waited a long time. You've decided and you really want to do this. I mean, I have to say that when I'm in the street and I see mums screaming at their kids, very rarely is it the older mother. The ones walloping their kids are often the young mothers because they're under stress, because they're young. I mean, it must be really hard to go straight from being a child, boom, into being a mother.
Do you feel you have less patience simply because you're a teenager?
No, that's not true, because the 9 months of my pregnancy gave me the time to know and realise that, yeah, I'm going to have this baby to wake up to. This is real. Soon this is going to happen. My life is going to change. You've got a whole 9 months to change from a teenager to a mother.
What about all your friends? Are all your friends out kind of clubbing and having great times?
And I still get to do that because I've got the support of my family. I understand what you say. If I didn't have support by obviously her father and his family and my mother and my family, because a lot of teenagers are just put out there. I still live with my mum. I've decided to do so until she's a bit older.
Are you still studying at all? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm at the moment. I'm actually doing an IT course in PC maintenance and web design and stuff like that. And I've still got a job. I'm still on maternity leave, and I plan to go back to college to do my A-levels this coming September, and the government help you with childcare, so...
So your mother has been incredibly brilliant to
definitely.
If I said to my mother at 35, you know what, Mum, I've decided I'm going to come home now and I'm going to have this, she'd have said, no way. I mean, family school.
Yeah, that is younger, your grandparents are younger too.
Anyway, thank you both for coming in.
Thank you. Lovely baby.
Thank you.
Lovely, quiet baby. Coming up, BBC News 24 has the latest news from home and abroad.
Here, though, on Breakfast, we've got a Christmas extravaganza from the Natural History Museum, and Master Chris Hollins can tell us all about it.
We certainly have. Good morning to you. Yeah, a little bit later on, we've got all the bees, we've got a bit of booze, got a bit of banter, and we've got the beatboxers, and Blake, you name it, it's going to be on this programme a little bit later on. Plus, we'll be looking and telling you exactly and exclusively what's going to be on television over Christmas. Behind the scenes with Susanna Reid, it's all coming up. But first, the news, travel and weather, where you are.
Good morning. Wigan Athletic Football Club will find out later today whether they've won their big battle in the High Court. They're trying to get nearly £300,000 back from Greater Manchester Police for what they describe as overcharging for policing on match days. But GMP maintained that the increase in charges was entirely fair. A High Court judge is due to make a ruling on the case later today. The MP of jailed Liverpool supporter Michael Shields is hoping yesterday's lie detector test will put pressure on the Bulgarian authorities to pardon the 21-year-old. Shields was returning from the European Cup final in 2005 when he was charged with the attempted murder of a Bulgarian barman. Louise Ellman says the results of the test is part of a mounting case showing his conviction is unsafe. The father of a missing teenager from Blackpool has made an emotional appeal for his daughter to come home for Christmas. Paige Chivers walked out of the family home after an argument in August this year. Her father says that all he wants for Christmas is for his daughter to come home. There's a reward for information leading to her safe return. Well, Christmas is always a hectic time for football clubs, and Manchester City is no exception. They're playing 5 games in 15 days over the festive season, and manager Sven-Göran Eriksson says he's in favour of a continental system of taking a break over the holidays.
I think it's a good idea they have in Italy. They take 1 week off, and it was the players' union who fought for that, and they got through. So if you are a manager in Italy, you are not allowed to take in the players for 7 days during that period. You can't train them.
So it's a break?
That's a law in Italy.
Staying with football, and our teams will find out who they face in the next rounds of their respective European campaigns today. Bolton and Everton will find out their opponents in the next round of the UEFA Cup, and Man United and Liverpool will be eagerly listening to the draw for the first knockout round of the Champions League, which takes place in Switzerland at around 11 o'clock this morning. Now let's take a look at today's weather with Nick Miller.
Good morning. It's another cold and frosty start. Temperatures in some spots have fallen as low as -6 overnight. Maybe the odd icy patch on untreated roads. Today, well, there will be a distinct lack of sunshine to warm us up. A lot of low cloud around, misty too, and those conditions rather grey and uninviting continuing for most of us throughout the day. And as a result, after such a chilly start, temperatures will be struggling 2 to 4 degrees for the most part, 6 perhaps on the Isle of Man, and just a light southeasterly breeze. Now, a lot of this low cloud and misty conditions will continue overnight. Just the odd break, but it will be a rather patchy frost rather than a widespread frost. And later in the night, cloud increasing from the west. That will bring some rain our way through tomorrow morning, drying up in the afternoon. Sunday looks mainly dry, but with quite a breeze. The main thing for the weekend, less cold.
It is cold today. Wrap up. So that's it. I'll be back in half an hour. Bye-bye.
Good morning, this is Breakfast with Bill Turnbull and Susanna Reid.
Our main story this morning, millions of people planning to travel over Christmas and New Year are facing widespread disruption.
As well as the usual busy roads, there will be engineering work on large parts of the rail network, and some of Britain's busiest airports could be disrupted by strike action.
The Chief Constable of Northern Ireland has been urged to attend a meeting to discuss scathing criticism of the police by the judge in the Omagh bomb trial. The police ombudsman, who monitors standards, is seeking talks after Sean Hoey was acquitted of the bombing, which killed 29 people.
The controversy over the failure to deport foreign prisoners has been reignited by a memo issued by the Prison Service. The document says the Border and Immigration Agency has no interest in sending home foreign criminals who serve sentences of less than a year. The Tories have accused the government of breaking a promise to deal with the issue.
The court has ruled that an Indian doctor who was deported from Australia after he was wrongly charged over the failed bomb attacks in London and Glasgow should be allowed to return. Terrorism charges against Mohammed Hanif were dropped earlier this year after Australia's chief prosecutor said a mistake had been made. The Indian doctor was later expelled from the country.
We're getting reports this morning that Japan is dropping its plans to kill humpback whales. There has been worldwide condemnation of the hunt, particularly from Australia. Japan planned to harpoon 50 humpback whales in its current expedition in Antarctica, marking the first time that Japan had carried out such a hunt since the 1960s.
The number of people working on Christmas Day has almost doubled over the past few years, according to the TUC. It says more than 130,000 people will be on duty, with more women than men working. The main areas affected are the emergency services, hotels and restaurants. And of course, here on Breakfast, we'll have a full programme, as usual, on Christmas Day. And
who's presenting that?
You'll be. Who's on? You're on here that day, aren't you?
I hate to break it to you, Bill, but it's you. Bringing the nation festive cheer on Christmas morning.
Marvellous.
Those are the main stories this morning, 8:32. Now here's what's coming up later on in the programme. Will we be giving them full marks? Judges Arlene, Craig and Bruno are live here on the sofa ahead of tomorrow's Strictly Come Dancing final.
Just how nervous are the two finalists? Matt D'Angelo and Alicia Dixon will be here with their dance partners, Flavia and Matthew.
And minding our manners, we've an exclusive report from the set of the Christmas special of To the Manor Born.
And Chris is on ice.
And we're
there
at
he
the
is.
Natural History Museum. Very good morning. We're on the Natural History Museum. We're having a bit of a Christmas special here, soaking up the atmosphere of the ice and all the people around here. Plus, we're getting, and full of it, the Christmas spirit. Talking of which, we're going to give you some ideas about some booze and some food. Carol Kirkwood put that champagne down. Plus, we'll be listening from the classical boy band Blake. They'll be giving us our version, or their version, I should say, of White Christmas. And back by popular demand, it's the beatboxers. Remember them earlier on this week? Take it away, give us some.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly. 'Tis the season to be jolly.
I'm gonna learn some of that. That's still to come on this morning's programme.
How do they do that?
Right then, Sue. Come on then.
Who'd have thought our Chris would be so light on his feet? Looking good, isn't he, on those skates? Thank you very much. I'll do my best. Morning. The sport. Paul Collingwood admits England need a miracle to salvage anything from the third test against Sri Lanka in Galle after they were dismissed yesterday for a humiliating 81 runs. Well, there might be some help on the way, though, in the form of some heavy rain. England started the day on 2 for no wicket and made decent progress before Michael Vaughan edged one to Mahela Jayawardene in the slips with a score on 67. But his opening partner, Alistair Cook, is still there on 53, and in partnership with Ian Bell, the tourists have moved on to 102 for 1. Perhaps more significantly, though, the heavens have opened in Galle. Heavy rain is threatening to disrupt play this afternoon. There might be some relief then for England, who still need another 316 to make Sri Lanka bat again. Aberdeen began the night bottom of their UEFA Cup qualifying group with just a single point, but a famous 4-0 win over the Danish champions FC Copenhagen saw them advance to the knockout stages. It was an impressive result for a side who'd only scored once in the competition before last night. The Dons joined Spurs, Everton and Bolton in the last 32.
Great performance for the lads, you know, we know they're capable of it. That's why we get so angry sometimes on Saturdays, you know, but a wonderful performance against a very good team. It's wonderful, you know, to be in the last 32. We've got something to look forward to tomorrow, Jim, you know, and all credit to the lads they've took us here, and the crowd was absolutely fantastic, you know, the atmosphere. That is special, you know, and it doesn't matter who you get now, it's something to look forward to in February.
Well, Everton were already guaranteed winning their group before last night's match against AZ Alkmaar, but their 3-2 victory meant they came through the group stage with a 100% winning record. It was the first time the Dutch side had ever lost a European tie at home. The draws for the knockout stages of the UEFA Cup and the Champions League take place a bit later on today. Now, I'm off now for the rest of Christmas, so happy Christmas to you all, and to you too. I will, of course, be watching on Christmas Day.
And on New Year's Day?
Of course.
Good. You're not working either of those with us? Keeping us company?
I'm coming in next
How does
Friday.
that happen? Tell me how does it happen?
We drew
Friends
the short
in very high
Will there be a
places.
Christmas miracle in Sri Lanka?
Well, the rain's been really heavy today. I think it might just fall into England's hands, actually. And they have made a good
especially if we
start
might like
today.
that. Yeah.
Yes. But after yesterday, they really did need one, didn't they?
Yeah. Okay.
Sue, thanks very much.
Have a lovely
Festive greetings
Happy
to you.
Christmas.
It's 24 minutes to 9.
They're suave, they're sophisticated, and they've the sharpest tongues on telly. The Strictly Come Dancing judges have guided and goaded the celebrities and their dance partners through the pleasure and pain of that dance floor.
And nothing escapes their attention to detail. Craig, Arlene and Bruno are here. We'll talk to them in a moment. First, let's have a look at just some of their helpful comments to the finalists, Matt and Alicia.
Competition is about risk and reward.
You are a really good dancer, and you have to believe every inch in yourself.
Bruno Tognoni.
540. Great score.
You look like the first lady of dance in that picture.
That knee-to-nippy footwork turned the nip in the air outside hot.
Oh, lovely. And Bruno Tognoni.
It's a good start to the semi-final. 2 more tens to add jam on, indeed.
And here they are.
To ramp up the excitement.
Arlene, Bruno and Craig, good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I'm excited about the event because it's not just sort of who's going to win, but just how high the standard could get. This has been the best series, surely, so far in terms of standard dancing.
Quite phenomenal. We've had some amazing dancers this series, and sadly, some of our amazing dancers have just gone out like that.
Yes. Yes.
But it's been exciting. for people to discover, A, that they can dance, or B, that they can, like Gethin, really learn to dance.
Yes.
And learn to lead, actually, you know, because that is one of the hardest things, of course, for our celebrity men, as you possibly know, is to turn on. I'm nothing, darling.
Leading a woman round the floor.
And Bruno, I mean, Gethin not in the final, did that surprise you?
It did surprise me. Last week was one of the most, for us, it was really hard because, you know, we have to kind of judge for what we see. And it just happened that that night we didn't think it didn't quite happen the way we were expecting it to happen. And we have to judge for what we see. So it's a tough decision.
And it was a question of luck, really, that it came down to the dances that they were doing, because I felt the Argentine tango for Gethin and Camilla just wasn't quite their dance. So of all the things to get, you know, judged on.
Oh, I know.
Absolutely.
But that's the luck of the draw, really.
I mean, but it's like, you know, it's like the luck of the draw when you first get your partner, and it's the luck of the draw to what dance you're doing right in the semi-finals.
And the pas double is tough. It's tough as well.
So it's a tough
Well, well, Craig, let's talk about Matt and Flavia. Because they got a perfect score at the weekend. And was it the first time you'd got your 10 out?
Yes, it was.
How did that feel?
I don't know, there was a lot of dust on it.
It was a breakthrough.
No, it does feel
changed his life.
No, I'm actually gunning to give people 10s. I am. And if I see something that goes wrong, it disappoints me. You know, like with Alicia, I've been desperate to give her a 10.
Yes. Oh, you're so demanding.
No, I really
Be a bit more
have. I
generous
really have. It's true. And, you know, if I see that something does go wrong, I can't award a 10.
Let's have a look then. At the moment, you finally all gave your top scores.
Revel Horwood.
10.
Ian Phillips. Len Goodman. Bruno Tonio.
But Arlie, were they really perfect? Or did they deserve that because Matt had such a desperate time the weekend before?
Absolutely nothing to do with the week before. He came out and did the most beautiful waltz, beautifully danced.
And yet, you gave him a 10 for his waltz, right? And yet, in the dance-off, you thought Gethin had done better with the Argentine. How did that happen? Because I could tell you, there was censoring it.
There was a debate. Always, yes, absolutely, always controversial. Gethin did not do a good Argentine tango in his dance. But I believe when he did that tango, everything that we had said was wrong with it, he corrected in an instant. It was smouldering, it was close.
And you like your smouldering, don't you?
I like smouldering.
We know why she put it down.
And I like what he danced. And they were serious competition for
Craig,
one another.
let's talk about Alicia and Matthew.
Yeah.
Because, as you say, you're desperate to give Alicia a 10. And now she's been consistently so good throughout the whole season.
She has.
But she needs to be perfect, doesn't she, tomorrow to win
it's only a small matter of footwork with Alicia, nothing more. If she solves that, tomorrow she's going to get 10s, you know, all over the shop. You know, that's all she's got to work on, really. I mean, her personality is fantastic, and you're absolutely right. She is consistently consistent, and that's what I adore about her, and she's so watchable.
I have to ask you something about your behaviour, all three of you plus Len, throughout the series. Well, it'd be most entertaining. Don't look at me like that.
Behaviour?
Don't look at me like that, Bruno. It's just you've been feisty, and you've been arguing with each other, almost coming to blows, and you and Len turning away from each other.
No, but it's not.
They're jet lagged.
Well, we had a very hard time with the show in America, obviously.
Yes.
But apart from that, we don't bring it on the show. It just happened that all of us are very passionate.
Yes.
I think we're really passionate about what we do. We love what we do. We love the kids.
Yes.
I personally have the greatest admiration of both the celebrities, and the dance is a great, I mean, it's incredible. You've done it, you know how hard it is.
See, you're
so
picking
we
on...
get involved.
I never thought I'd feel sorry for Craig Revel-Horde, and I have this year, because you all picked on the poor man.
Yes,
Well,
I'm entitled,
I
actually, I am entitled to an opinion, and it seems like everyone else on the panel thinks that that's quite the opposite.
No, I don't. I think Len, and Len particularly, in fact, he's been quite rude to me.
Yes.
And
No,
I did not feel, yes, he has, and I do not feel that the forum to answer him back is when I am judging a competition.
No, Len is not true. He just says it's not true. It's like you're speaking. It's like speaking to your sister or to your brother. He's I tell you, I guarantee you. Len is not a rude person. Come on, Len is
no, he's
I'm not
absolutely
saying
charming.
he's a rude person.
Unless he
I
starts
love
yelling
him,
at you.
Yeah.
but I've said...
I tell you,
he's
some of us
thrown a
have
few...
really liked you getting it from each other.
Well, you just can't help yourself. How can you help yourself? They're there. They're just dancing for their life. I'm going to respond emotionally.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not
my
going to...
butterflies are as strong as the performers. You know, when you're about to speak and you're excited about something.
We're just all very opinionated.
We all have our opinion. I just go with my heart. Craig is looking for certain things. Arlene, you know, are we over?
You're off, darling. Your time is up.
That's I'm going to blow the whistle. So, Brucey's got it. Thank you very much. Lovely to see you. Looking forward hugely to tomorrow night.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
good luck to all you guys
having
tomorrow
us.
night. Time to cross over to Chris, the Natural History Museum.
Good morning. It's quite lively over there, isn't it? Look, I'm joined by two people that are going to save my Christmas. I haven't done any shopping, I have no wine in the house, and I've got a packet of crisps and a packet of nuts. So what do you need? Award-winning chef Richard Corrigan here, and of course you need Ollie, the wine connoisseur. Now, first and foremost, we'll get to the booze in a minute. Little tidbits. We've had enough of nuts and crisps. You've brought oysters. First of all, how do you open them up?
Well, insert the blade into the back. The little mussel, just turn it. In there. Pepper and lemon juice, nothing else. This is the English native wild oyster from Colchester. I think one of the great delicacies of the world, and perfect now.
Not Tabasco and all that sort of thing?
Not necessary. This is pure deliciousness. And afterwards, then, a little spicy Spanish sausage, or a Lancashire Boer sausage, just to... So
not in the same mouth?
Not in the same mouth. The oyster first.
OK, you can show me what you can do with that. A little bit of black pepper.
That's what we love. A little bit of black pepper.
Like that.
Squeeze a lemon. That's it.
Absolutely delicious. And down
into the mouth, bite once.
I tell you what you want
just
with that?
bite once.
Beautiful.
Down the hatch.
With that, you want a muscadet, pickled pinot, really simple, fresh French wine, and really inexpensive. It's a terrific bargain this time of year. Goes beautifully with the freshness, the sea salt of the oyster.
Now, most people, excuse me,
yummy,
wouldn't be having oysters.
No, maybe
they're going to
not.
have the roast turkey.
They're going to
so
go
what are we
for
going
the
to have?
turkey.
We've got to have red wine. That's
No,
what
you
we
can't. Turkey, you can go jazz. You can go either way. You can have white wine or red wine. I brought some in. The first one I want you to try is a Chardonnay from New Zealand. This is Mahi Chardonnay, which is available from Novum Wines.
Right.
And for me, Burgundy, terrific wine, but quite expensive. This from New Zealand, amazing value, sensitive use of oak. If you're having a light turkey dish, this is the one to go for, something without too much trimming. So if you're just going simple,
goes
fresh
well with
veg,
oysters, I've got to say. I'm going to have a little bit of chorizo there. Now, red, if we are going to have some red.
Yeah. I brought this one for you from my very own cellar. This is from Burgundy. This is Pinot Noir from Nicolas Potel. It's Volnay. Absolutely brilliant. Elegant. If you're having cranberry stuffing, this is going to go beautifully with it. It's just so silky. It is absolutely like wearing satin pants. I love this stuff. Gorgeous.
Now, before, I've got to come back to you because I've had so many emails saying, look, I've got a turkey, big or small. Is there a foolproof way of getting the turkey just right?
Yes, I think there is. A preheated oven, up to 200, and use a small turkey, 8 to 10 pounds, maybe a bronze Norfolk turkey. Put it in, leave it there for around 40 minutes at 200, bring it down to 175, leave it there for, say, 2.5 hours. And you know what? The most foolproof way of checking it, just pull the leg away from the breast, and once it just falls off like a sail.
Is my mouth watering?
Mine certainly is. I have to have a drink.
Exactly.
Now, delicious.
That sounds actually perfect. So I've had my oysters, I've had my turkey. Now I've got a big Christmas pud.
You've
What's
got the
our
big
final
Christmas
one?
pud. Well, some people have tawny port and they go for the heavy things, but I reckon sparkling Moscato or Asti Spimanti. This is Two Hands' brilliant disguised
Is it?
Moscato.
Ooh.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Very sweet.
It's like an elderflower sort of sherbet bomb. Really sweet. It's really light in alcohol, so at the end of the meal it leaves you feeling
Not
good.
too expensive?
No, it's only about £6.
This is delicious.
I love it. Elderflower,
Good health.
intense,
This is delicious.
beautiful.
Good health. Have a great Christmas. You're
Thank
working
you.
hard, aren't you, over Christmas?
I'm working hard over Christmas, hopefully getting a couple of days off between 27th and 29th.
And we're off.
We're off!
Hey, cheers. Thank you very much for that.
Cheers.
Do you know who's really upset?
Who?
Carol Kirkwood. She hasn't got any booze. Take it away with the weather, Carol.
Thank you, Chris. There's only one turkey on this Christmas programme and it certainly doesn't have feathers. Now, this morning it is cold and it's grey, and in fact it's a really chilly start to the day because we've got some frost around, we've had some breaks in the cloud overnight, and we've also got some patchy fog. And there still is a potential for the fog to develop as we go through the course of this morning. So, on the satellite picture, you can see a lot of white cloud out towards the west. Now, that is rain-bearing cloud, and that's going to come our way this coming weekend. So this morning in the southeast, where the cloud has broken overnight, we've got some frost around. We've got quite a bit of cloud as well, and some murky conditions too. Now, for much of the north of England, we're looking at a frosty start again, and quite a bit of sunshine first thing, as we'll have across Scotland. But again, there are bits and pieces of cloud around, but the temperature this morning close to Aberdeen fell to -10. So if you're out early, you certainly would have been scraping your car. Across Northern Ireland, we've had some frost this morning too, so there may well be some icy patches on untreated surfaces. And across Wales this morning, well, we're looking at a frosty start to the day with some cloud and some patchy fog. Southwest of England, seeing some sunshine, not quite as cold here because we've got a bit of a breeze. Having said that, as we push into Somerset, well, we've had some snow grains this morning too. So for the rest of the day, we continue with this big lump of cloud across England and Wales, but it will brighten up through the afternoon in the southeastern corner, and we'll continue with some sunshine in the southwest, western Wales, northern England and Scotland in particular, but it will still feel cold. Now this evening and overnight, again there'll be some cloud around. Where it breaks, we'll have some frost, and again we'll have some patchy mist and some patchy fog. But through the night, you'll notice the rain piling across Northern Ireland, and through tomorrow it will continue to journey off in the direction of the North Sea. Now we'll have freezing rain from that for a time, anywhere north of Chester or the north of Wales, and in Scotland for a time we'll see some snow north of Edinburgh. But milder air's coming in behind it, and then on Sunday, for most of us, it will be dry and fine. There'll be some sunshine around. Later in the day, we'll have that rain piling in to the west, but again, not as cold as it has been. We're not expecting a white Christmas, so we've brought our own along. Come on then, Samantha, cue that snow. Here it comes. Isn't that just the best? And there's loads of it. There's loads.
Doesn't she look great? Thank you very much, Carol. We're just sipping. What are we sipping here?
We're sipping the Moscato, the sparkling fizz.
Now, of course, Christmas. We've talked about wine. We've talked about roast turkey and things. But what then?
Yes.
Just as we're putting the slippers on, we're going to watch television. If I said Audrey, and if I said Richard de Vere, what would I be talking about?
You'd be talking about To the Manor Born.
Manor Born.
Now, do you remember back in the 1970s it was on, around, what was it, I think 24 million people used to tune in for that.
I was one of them.
You were one of them, you used to be in there, wondering whether they'd ever get it together.
Yeah, would they?
Well, they are reuniting for a Christmas special, a one-off, and BBC Breakfast was allowed an exclusive behind-the-scenes look.
They're back at the Manor. In the run-up to Christmas, this sedate Somerset house has welcomed back its former master and mistress, even if it is just for a one-off BBC special.
Looking forward to that over on Christmas Day. Now, this poor man, does he look tired? Does he look as if he's got square eyes? This is David Butcher from the Radio Times. You've seen all the Christmas programmes.
Pretty much.
Now, are we in for an exciting Christmas?
Yeah, I think we are. Yeah, there's some great stuff there. There's some wonderful stuff. There's a lot of Dickens around, as always, that sort of thing people like at Christmas time. There's Doctor Who, of course. That'll be the big thing that gets everyone gathered together on Christmas Day. And there's Catherine Tate's got a wonderful special on Christmas Day where she brings out all her characters again and does all those catchphrases.
I'm glad you said that, because we can get a sneaky little preview of that.
Oh, good.
Here we go. I do love Kathy Burke. She's going to be a special in that, isn't she?
She's wonderful. It's just such perfect casting to have her as the daughter of that dreadful Nan character. It's brilliant.
Now tell me, Catherine Tate, she's now associated really with Doctor Who. Are we going to get any surprises at Christmas?
Well, I don't know about that. We're going to get... Yeah, you're right. Catherine Tate's going to be in the next series of Doctor Who starting next year. She's not in the Christmas special on Christmas Day, because the kind of sidekick there is Kylie Minogue, because I think everyone must know by now. And also, I can't think there's anybody who doesn't know that the TARDIS crash lands on the Titanic, but it's a Titanic up in space, and there's a kind of disaster movie scenario that unfolds from there. But it should be great, and it's a bit longer than usual, so it's a kind of really extra special episode.
Did you say extra special?
Oh, I did.
It's almost as if we planned this.
Subliminal.
Because, of course, Extras is back for its very, 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 very last one, and it is star-studded. Have a look at this. It's one of the most talked about piece of Christmas programming. It's star-studded, isn't it, Extras?
It is. It's got George Michael doing a guest appearance, which he also does in the Catherine Tate thing. So he's this year's guest star, clearly. It's got Gordon Ramsay, it's got Clive Owen, the film star, doing stuff. It's quite dark, I have to say. There's some very, very funny bits in it. It's kind of Extras, the movie. Very, very funny bits, but also some real kind of pathos there, and it ends up being Ricky Gervais's kind of all his reflections on celebrity and the perils of fame and so on. But it's not all upbeat by any means.
And just finally, that's the comedy done. Dramas. You mentioned Doctor Who, but what else have we got there?
Well, there's a wonderful thing on Boxing Day called Ballet.